Types of the movement, the different types of the movement are amoeboid movement, ciliary movement, muscular movement. So amoeboid movement is with the help of pseudopodia. Pseudopodia means false feet, which which are appendages which move with the movement of protoplasm within the cell. So amoeboid movement, it takes place always in amoebas. It is the movement with the help of pseudopodia, false feet. Now next is the ciliary movement. This movement is brought upon by the appendages called as cilia, which are hair-like structures, extensions of the epithelium. Both these kinds of movements are seen with cells of the lymphatic system. Now next comes the muscular movement. It is more complex movement which is brought about by the musculoskeletal system. This muscular movement only for us it takes place. That means with the help of with the combination of the muscles and the bones, that is called as musculoskeletal movement. So it takes place in always in higher vertebrates, that means in human beings. To understand more about the movement brought about by the musculoskeletal system, we understand the joints, skeletons and the types of muscles. So next section we are going for the joints. So what is a joint? The point at which two separate bones meet is called as a joint. Two bones where it is meeting together, that part is called as a joint. That in between the hands and our our hands, our arm, shoulder bone, it is a joint. And here between the forearm and the this there is a joint. So in this type of joint, depending on the type of movements, they allow the joints can be three types. Some will be fixed, slightly movable and immovable. Three types of joints are there: fixed, slightly movable and immovable. Okay. So in fixed or immovable joints, in this type of joint, no movement is possible between the two bones. Where it will be in the head part, in the skull, we can't move our skull. It is called as immovable joint. The structures between the bones like the skull bones are examples of immovable joints. So the skull bones and the upper jaw, our upper jaw cannot move. That is also an example of fixed but immovable joint. But our lower jaw can move up and down. So it is called as, it is a movable, slightly movable joint. Slightly movable joints. Here only very little partial movement occurs between the two bones. That is slightly movable. This joint between the ribs and the breastbone or between the vertebrae are the examples of slightly movable joints. So rib movement, when we are bending, we can bend because of the ribs are allowing us to slightly move. And the breastbone, they are also helped us to move. Freely movable joints. In this type, varying degree of movements is possible between two bones forming the joint. There are 6 types of freely movable joints that will go. First, let us go for the previous. Do you know? Joints are the place where the two bones meet. Okay. Ligaments are short bands of tough fibrous connective tissue that functions to connect one or bone to another, forming the joints. So here the definitions are for joints, ligaments and tendons. Tendons are made up of elastic tissue and also play a key role in the functioning of the joints. So joints, ligaments and tendons. They are tendons are the elastic tissues. What are ligaments? Short band of fibrous connective tissues. Okay, ligaments and tendons are tissues only, but one is elastic, which gives elasticity, and the ligaments are fibrous connective tissue which connects the tissues. Okay, now what are the different types of freely movable joints? They are given in the tabular column. The first one they are saying is the ball and socket joint. It is in the ball and socket joint is found in the shoulders and the hip. Okay, hip is the part here where the upper part of the body gets divided into the lower part, that is the hip or the waist, you can say. The ball shaped head of the one bone articulates with the cup like socket of an adjacent bone. Articulates means is fixed inside, so it is called as ball and socket joint. Movement can occur in the three planes. This joint allows the greatest range of movement. We can turn our hands, isn't it? That is because of the ball and socket joint. One like a cup, the other one is fixed inside. That is called as ball and socket joint. Then next comes the hinge joint. Hinge means always it can move only in one direction. Okay, that is hinge joint. Elbow, knee and ankle. Elbow means the hand's elbow. Okay, it can move, it cannot move back side, so it can move only in the front side, that is the hinge joint. Knees also, we can bend our knees to the back side, we can't bend it on the forward side. So that is also hinge joint. Ankle of the leg. A cylindrical protrusion of one bone articulates with a tuft-shaped depression of one adjacent bone. Protrusion means only to the one direction the of one bone articulates. That means only in one direction it is articulated, so that can move only in one direction. Movement is restricted to one place. This joint allows bending and straightening only. Only the bending and straightening only. Pivot joint. The spine atlas axis joint of the top. The rounded or the pointed structure of one bone articulates with the ring-shaped structure of radius, ulna and adjacent bone. Movement is restricted to one place. The joint allows rotation about its longitudinal axis only. Pivot joint is always in the neck. In all the direction we can rotate our neck, isn't it? That is in the pivot joint. Then is condyloid. Condyloid, it is in the wrist of the hands. Similar to a ball and socket joint, but with much flatter articulating surfaces, forming a much shallower joint. It is not much deep, it is a shallow joint. Movement can occur in two planes. This joint allows a second movement, like ball and socket joint. The next greatest movement we can give to the wrist. The next was is gliding. Spine between the bony process of the vertebrae. Articulating surfaces are almost flat and a similar size. Gliding allows movement in three planes, but it is severely limited. So, a certain stage only the gliding movement can take place. Saddle, thumb, shoulder and inner ear. One part of the concave turned inwards and the one end and the looks like a saddle. Saddle means the flat surface when we are using for the movement, for moving, like a slippers, that is called as a saddle. Okay, the other end is convex and looks like a rider in a saddle. Flexion, extension and the abduction and adduction movement are seen. So this is seen in where thumbs, shoulders and the inner ear. Okay, it will be flat like a saddle. For everything they have given the pictures also. See how it is, the saddle joint, the condyloid joint and everything, ball and socket joint, all the joints they have shown. Now next is the synovial joint. A synovial joint is a joint which makes the connection between the two bones, consisting of a cartilage lined cavity filled with fluid. It is the cartilage will be filled with the cartilage lined cavity filled with fluid. Fluid will be there, which is known as the diarthrosis joints. So it is known as diarthrosis joint. These are the most flexible type of joint between the bones, because the bones are not physically connected and can move more freely in relation to each other. So between the bones there should be a flexible fluid is present, which helps the joints to move easily. So that is called a synovial joint and can move freely in relation to each other. Synovial joints have four main distinguishing features. They have four different characteristics for the synovial joints. So first let us go for do you know. Inflammation of joint is a condition that usually results either due to friction of articulating cartilages or due to lack of synovial fluid in the joint. You can hear when they have the knee pains, they will used to say the fluid is less in that. Yes, you can hear from the elderly people, the knee pain comes, the fluid is less, they are saying. That is the in the synovial fluid, the synovial fluid is less. During this condition, the person feels acute pain in the joints, particularly while moving joints. This disease is referred to as arthritis. Arthritis, however, also caused due to deposition of uric acid crystals in the joints. Even the uric acid crystals are there. That also helps in the arthritis disease. That is, it is the due to lack of synovial fluid in the joints. Now next comes the features of the synovial joint. Structure, ligament. A band of strong fibrous tissue, it is the definition of ligament, to connect bone to bone. Then is the synovial fluid, a slippery fluid with the consistency of egg whites that is contained within the joint cavity. So in between the joints, between the two bones, that where the two bones join together is called as joint. Where in that joint there is a fluid filled, and it will be like a whitish part of the egg, like that the gel like fluid, it will be there inside, to reduce the friction between the articulating cartilage in the joint, so that the cartilage will not get worn out faster. Glassy smooth cartilage that is spongy and covers the ends of the bones in the joint. It absorbs shock and to prevent friction between the ends of the bones to the joint. It will resist the friction between the joints. A tough joint capsule, a tough fibrous tissue that has two layers with the fibrous capsule lying outside the synovial membrane. Its function is the fibrous capsule helps to strengthen the joint while the synovial membrane lines the joint and secretes the synovial fluid. So these are the what are the different features of each synovial joint, ligament, synovial fluid, articular cartilage, and how it is and what is its function. Now next comes the skeletal system in human beings. Skeletal system is divided into two, exoskeleton and endoskeleton. First, let us go what is skeleton. The skeletal system provides the hard structure or framework to the body. If we didn't have the skeletal system or the bones, our body will not be staying upright. It will be bent or it will collapse down. So it only gives a nice framework, nice body shape to our body, the skeletal system. Skeleton is without joints, no movement would take place, and significance of human body will not be more than a stone. If there is no joints, there will be no movement happening, and like a stone, we will be there in one place. Exoskeleton. So the skeleton is divided into two, exoskeleton and endoskeleton. It is a skeleton that is found in the exterior layer of the body, if it is found in the exterior outside, and it is basically originates from the embryonic ectoderm or the mesoderm. It develops from the ectoderm or the mesoderm. Like scales in the fishes, outer hard layer of the tortoise, and the feathers of the birds, it protects and preserves the inner organs. So these are the examples of the exoskeleton. Then endoskeleton. It is a skeleton that is found inside the human body and it originates from the mesoderm. The first one was generating from the ectoderm or the mesoderm, but the endoskeleton is generating always from the mesoderm. These are found in almost all vertebrates and form the main body structure. Now functions of skeleton, it's very important. The first point is it provides structure and shape of the body. It only gives a shape to our body. Next, it supports and surrounds the internal organs. It surrounds our and prevents from the injury the internal organs. Calcium and phosphorus are the two minerals and that the body needs for important regulatory function are stored inside these bones. Red blood cells are produced in the bone marrow. The bones of the skeletal system act as levers for muscular action. Muscular movement would not be possible without the tendons. If the tendons are not there, it is the tissue. It is a tissue, fibrous tissue, which helps for to the movement of the bones. And ligaments are the fibrous cords, connective tissues that attach the bone to bone. Then next is the constituents of the skeleton. Before that, do you know the femur of the thigh bone is the longest and the strongest bone in the human skeleton. The femur means the thighs. What is the longest bone? It is gives the strongest bone. The stapes in the middle ear is the smallest and the lightest bone. Okay, so this is the do you know. Next, the constituents of the skeleton. Human skeleton consists of bone, cartilage, and ligaments. Bones comprise the hard framework of the body. Cartilage are the supporting and the connecting structures. So cartilage also only helps in the connecting also and supporting, but bones gives the framework to the body. The cartilage, the cartilage supports the projecting external ears and the tip of the nose. Cartilage means which is flexible, which can be bent. So the nose tip and the ears, outer ears is the cartilage. So only we can bend our outer external ear. Okay, it is made up of cartilage. There are different types of bones in human skeleton system. Long bones found in arms and legs, short bones found in wrist, ankle, vertebral column, flat bones found in skull, ribs and shoulders and hips, irregular bones found in spine and vertebral column, mandible, that means lower lip, palatine, it's near to the mouth area, inferior nasal concha inside the nose area, and the hyoid bones. So these are the three different types of bones found in the human body. So next class we'll go for the what are the parts of the skeleton. Okay, thank you students.